control. Breach in 5, 4, 3.
What's up, y'all? It's Uncle Freedom coming to you on a glorious and well-deserved day off. And yes, I have a microphone, so hopefully you can hear me loud and clear, and it doesn't affect your viewing pleasure when you got to turn your shit up on 9,000. I do something like that. So I talked about something in a recent video. If you haven't had a chance to look at it, I highly encourage you to go back and check it out. And it is my top training mistakes or missed opportunities in training. In that video, one of the things I harp on is get good in the dark, and I talk about a test that we run at the Academy known as the Light Vulnerability Test. A lot of people messaged me on Instagram. I got emails. I had people comment on it, and it was, "What is that? That sounds cool. I want to know more about it." So I figured we'd do a little primer video on that today, talking about one of the most effective tools that you can use to learn how to shoot in the dark and how to actually see what you're seeing in the dark and to understand your limitations in that realm. So if that sounds like fun, you're interested in that, you want to learn how to get better in the dark, go ahead and like, subscribe, tell a friend, and let's get into this. Also, for those of you that checked out the video that I released earlier this week with Officer Meanie Head, a really good friend of mine, the response to that has been overwhelming. In private messages, everybody loved it. Everybody wanted to see more of me and him, so fear not. I train with him numerous times a year. We teach together about 9 times a year. We will be at a class together in like 2 weeks for a few days, and we're going to bring out like an X95, some cool shit. We're going to have a good time. So be on the lookout for that. So your light vulnerability test, what is it? Simply stated, the light vulnerability test teaches you there are certain vulnerabilities to running a light that you may not realize exist. I, like everybody else, like kit. I like gear. I like expensive toys, and I buy the best possible option I can, but that does not mean that that light does not come with its own limitations, and there are definitely some vulnerabilities in things like beam pattern, how big your hotspot is, how good the throw is on your light. These are all things you learn through trying them and doing them on the range, which is the reason you have to go to the range and actually shoot this stuff and shoot at night. And why is it important? Well, let's think about this in daytime. All right, so daytime, you're shooting. What is the most important thing you're going to have to do before you break that shot? It's positive identification. Making sure that the thing you're about to make into a freaking colander needs to be turned into a colander. It has to be a threat. Is that a gun in his hand? These are things you have to answer before you pull the trigger, because there's a massive liability to this. Like, you will end up in prison food and become somebody named Leroy Sweetboy in jail if you screw this up. So don't screw it up. But we practice really hard at daytime with shoot, no shoot scenarios and drills to make sure that we can make those split-second decisions. But we don't do it as much at night. And a lot of that is because, like everybody else, you know, you think you bought a light. I'm good, I got a light, right? But there are limitations to your light and your eyes and your ability to see even with that light. I have heard people tell me they don't go out at night. That doesn't matter. When's the last time you were in a movie theater, or the power went out in a place you were in a dark corner of a Walmart? Bad things happen in the dark. And normally bad people will seek out the dark because it provides the same reason good guys, like in the military, we sought out darkness, was because it was cover. If I can move in the shadows and I can see you before you see me, I'm at an advantage. So it's the same deal when we start talking about how to deal with light as a civilian in the everyday world. So it works on the premise of you using the tools you have at your disposal that you would be depending your life on in order to make accurate decisions on whether or not you would actually do something about a perceived threat. There is no ammo required to run this test. In fact, it's discouraged for you to have ammo. I need you to be making the decision based on what you see or think you see, and not whether or not you can hit the target. So one of the things we will do, and we'll set this up as a ground rule, which is if you ever take a shot or say you would take the shot, it's an instant kill shot. It doesn't matter how far we are away. If we're at 50 yards and you say, I would dome that dude, you make that shot 100% every time. So we're not talking about your actual shooting ability. We are only concerned with what you think you see versus what reality is happening. So that's how this test actually works. So what you would need to complete this test, there are a couple of ways you can actually do it. You can get IPSC targets, but preferably you want something like the Chameleon target system from T-Rex Arms. You can go to Action Targets, OmahaTargets.com, RE Factor Tactical, Challenge Targets, anywhere online that you can buy simulated targets. And a lot of those targets will have things like the Ron Jeremy target that Grand Thumb shoots all the time, but you will have a color photo of a person. And what you can do through RE Factor Tactical or a lot of these companies is buy a sticker that you can actually put on the target itself. Sorry, my work phone's going ballistic now. You would actually be able to put that on there. So you may have a handgun down here. You may have this position. It could be a phone. It could be a handgun. They make them where the badge is behind the gun worn on the chest, where it would be for an off-duty officer, on the belt line. Is it a phone? Is it a squirt gun? Is it a airsoft gun? There's tons of different things that you can do with this. And you can also take this into the realm of let's do it with real people, which is another reason ammo is a bad idea. You could have 3 guys. It doesn't really work if you do it with more than 3 targets because it's very hard for you to process information. You could push it further if you wanted to, but typically 3 guys. You would stand all 3 guys roughly 2 meters apart, downrange, at about 50 yards away, and then you would have them in various states of something. Handgun down at the waist, handgun drawn out and pointed at you, maybe include a badge if you've got law enforcement friends, a cell phone out, whatever, right? You put the stuff in the hand. Now you have a 3-dimensional target. And at 50 yards, you put those things back. You start at 50 yards and you bring a group out and somebody has a light and you hit that target for a count of 3. 1,001, 1,002, 1,003. Light off. You are now making a decision based on your sight picture from that 3-second window of light. That's real life. That's not a game. That's not gaming the situation. That is your ability to process information delivered to you from a flashlight in 3 seconds. And you are picking whether or not you saw a threat, where you identified that threat as. And what you will discover as we move this up from 50 to 40 to 30 to 25 yards to 15 yards and to 10 yards, that as you move, the people that are in the group that are actually deciding whether or not they would shoot will slowly become less confident in the shot that they've taken. They will realize that, holy shit, that was an off-duty cop with a badge on his belt. Holy shit, that woman had a cell phone. That was definitely not a gun. These are the things that happen. So you see it and you're like, oh, crap. And we'll even go as far as, okay, that guy's got a gun. Okay, well, where's the gun pointed? What kind of gun is it? These are all questions, right? Because we're going to force you to think about what you actually saw. Okay, well, he's got a gun. I know he's got a gun. Okay, what color was it? Semi-automatic or revolver? Where was it pointed? Was he actively a threat or was he passive? These are things you have to answer. Because as we're so fond, one of the things we do during the academy is we will literally, once you make your decision, you're going to take that shot. We will ask you, are you so certain about what you saw that you will go upstairs if you're wrong right now and pack everything you own and be done being a cop? Out of the academy, gone forever. Are you that sure? And the reason we put it in that context is because that's how real it is. If you are not sure, nobody gives a shit that you thought you saw something. Period. That's how law enforcement is taught. Nobody cares that you think you saw anything. We only care about what really happened. So if you get out there and you actually do this, You will have somebody bite on this, and then by the time we get to 25, they are very terrified that they are out of the academy because they made a decision based on a flash sight picture because for some reason they thought they had superhuman sight, and now they would have killed somebody they didn't need to kill. So it's very important that if you do this training, you hold yourself very highly accountable. Be dynamic with this training. Don't hesitate to set up a wall where you can't see. Have another person there designate the targets out, and then have you come around the corner with a handheld light or a weapon mounted light on an empty gun. And would you make a decision in those flash sight pictures with that light? Would you shoot? Be honest about it. Hold to what you've said, because that's the only way you learn is if you make mistakes in this. And it's better to make these kinds of mistakes while we're training in a test specifically designed for you to fail than it is for you to learn them in the heat of the moment, because again, you will never get better in a fight. You will revert to your highest level of effective training, and that is it. So, and it's important when we do these, don't just do them with your weapon mounted light, right? So my duty handgun right here, right? Gen 4 Glock 22, Warren Tactical, +4 on there, Streamlight TLR1 HL. This is 1,000 lumen weapon light, and I can tell you that my odds of PIDing something at 50 yards with this weapon mounted light are not very good. Now, if I can't ID that with 1,000 lumen light, this is my SIG P320X carry that has never gone off without me pulling the trigger. Sorry, bad holsters make that shit happen. With a TLR7 500 lumen weapon light. So if I have a 500 lumen weapon light, do you think my odds are better or worse of taking a shot at a 50-yard difference or IDing a target? Probably not any better. Then we look at handhelds. You will see people that this is their version of a handheld light, right? 110 lumens. I encourage you to run this test with a little bitty light. Wait till you see how much you actually can't see with your little bitty light. Move it up to a little bit bigger, right? This is about 180 lumens. You will still be amazed at what you can't see with the light. It's because it's a small light round. Well, here's a Surefire, right? This is a Surefire, and Surefire that's not screwed in. There we go. So that's 320 lumens. You think my odds are better or worse? Sometimes better, because these actually have a really, really good throw. Something like the G2 Law Enforcement, 600 lumen light. Or my current everyday carry, my Surefire EDCL1T, 500 lumen light. My backup light for if I carry a Glock 26 or something, this is a 1200 lumen light, Surefire EDCL2T. 1,000 lumen Phoenix, right? Get out there and try it with a bunch of different lights. Don't be ashamed if you fail. The drill is designed to make you fail. It's much like my Uncomfortable Truths of Prepping video. I'm not trying to make you mad. I am trying to make you think and understand that you're not seeing the entire picture. No matter how bad you want to be seeing everything that's going on, you're not. That's why we call it the light vulnerability test. You think in your brain that you are seeing and you understand everything that is going on, but the reality of that is you don't. You have zero idea, and you have about 10% of the available information with your light at a distance of about 30 to 50 yards. Now, if we bump that up to 25, things start changing, and some of the weapon mounted lights will change that even at 50 yards. I have a Surefire Scout M600 that I can positively see and identify targets to shoot at like 175 yards with. But could I make a absolutely confirmed decision that that guy's a threat? No, I can't. I can't do it. It's not going to happen because the light source isn't that good. Same deal with when I get closer with a handgun. At 50 yards, I'm probably not going to be able to tell you whether or not you take a shot. At 25, absolutely. You need to understand that there are vulnerabilities to you having a weapon mounted light or a handheld light that you haven't necessarily thought about, which is what makes the light vulnerability test so effective. Because you will go from, this is a $200 1200 lumen top of the line flashlight, right? This light is not capable of PIDing a target at 50 yards. It's not. That is sad fact and reality. So is the answer to that more lumens? right? You need more and more brighter lights sometimes. But I'll riddle you this. In 2005, back when I was a little soldier, we were using a light like this to clear buildings with. This is a 60 lumen Surefire 6P. 60 lumens of light. And we could positively identify in a flash sight picture inside of a building, which is basically inside of 15 yards, positively ID threats and weapons with this light. So we can't say it's a lumen. It's not. It's repetitive skills, training, and constantly working your way through these situations. Do it once, sure. Take what you've learned from it, go back and do it again. Go back and try it a different way. Change the dynamic of how you're doing it, because again, this is not just about it's pitch black dark and we have a bad guy. This is that movie theater. This is in a mall on an overcast day where the lighting's not really caught up and you've got those kind of dark and shady spots. This is that dark hallway going to a bathroom at a baseball game. This is that under the bleachers at a high school football game because you're walking out of the place. That's what this is. This is areas where you can still see with the naked eye pretty well, but you'd be amazed at how much info you don't have. And then your light being able to punch through those things to see it is very important. We want to make it worse on somebody. Have somebody stand off to the side with something as small as a 500 lumen light and shine this back at you. Or shine it from the side. You have to be able to punch through a photonic barrier with a light. That's where Candela comes in, because now I can actually see through that light source. One of the big ones for me is if you have ambient lighting outside of a house, right? So your lights in your awning, they're lighting up around the outside of the house, but I have an open garage and I could possibly have somebody inside of that garage, and maybe I have a light coming through a window from the house into the garage, but it doesn't light up the garage. It takes a hell of a lot more light power to punch into that dark ass room than you would think. And the reason being is because I have all of these photonic barriers that are competing for my eye's ability to see what I'm trying to see. This glare out here, that's the reason if you're outside at night and you do this from a street light and you block it, you can instantly see better, because that photonic barrier, your eyes are taking in that light and trying to process things this way when you're trying to process darkness this way. So it really jacks things up. And light vulnerability test, training this stuff for real. Do it dry fire in your home. Set up shoot no shoots in your house. ID things with your buddies at a house. Go through a dark house or light houses with mixed lighting. So I've got a light on in this bedroom over here, but I've got a dark spot over here. You would be amazed how little you can see and how much your ability to manipulate a light as you go to not backlight yourself and things like that become very important. I will tell you right now, the best light in the world, if you walk into a room and you screw up and you go and you think you've got an open hallway and you hit a mirror with a light, you are blind as shit. Or if you hit a stark white wall, or another one to think of is framed pictures on the wall. Any of those things that you hit with light are going to blind you and disrupt your own ability to interpret information in the dark. Get good in the dark. These are out of the box ways of looking at stuff. It is so important. I do it all the time at home. I drive my wife nuts, but I will do it at home. I will start off either in my doorways and I will clear my house with an empty gun, with a weapon mounted light, or with a handheld light. And I will walk my way through that house and get my flashlight picture so I can see what's going on and kind of keep moving. But you'd be amazed. Even though I live in my house, I've done this and nailed a framed picture and just blinded the dog shit out of myself. Framed pictures, reflective surfaces, white walls inside of your house, hitting a china cabinet with a light. And the thing is, most of the time when we do that, it's not on purpose. We'll ND that light sometimes, or we'll come out and we'll hit something and the spill will catch this white part of a quarter wall over here. That will blind you, and now you can't see what you actually shined your light at. So get out, get good, train with your lights. If you need more advice or you have questions about different lights or the better ways to train with this stuff, reach out to me. I'll be glad to help you. Reach out to Officer Meanyhead too. He is Officer, I think it's OFF Meanyhead. He's on Instagram as well. Just search Officer Meatyhead or Meatyhead. Solid guy, but train with your lights and go out and run a light vulnerability test with you and your buddies so you understand how little you actually can see even with your really nice light. And that is probably the biggest takeaway, is you will learn really quickly that you cannot see nearly as much as you thought you could see. And that is one of the scariest things in the world, but at the same time, the biggest driving force for you to go train more and get better, because you realize there's a deficiency that you thought you had handled. First time I did light vulnerability, I totally thought I had a great light, I had this, I'm good, right? No, I learned really quick. I got humbled and learned that even the best gear in the world has got a shortcoming. And even if you clear a building with a light, 1,000 lumen light, you are going to jack up your vision at several points during that are just so bad, causing yourself to be at risk because you blinded yourself on accident. So fun fact for that, guys. Cool, interesting thoughts on the light vulnerability test and running lights with a weapon. Some little things to think about, like your actual structures and reflective surfaces in your house or outside. But guys, I am Uncle Freedom. Go ahead, like, subscribe, tell a friend. Reach out to me if you got questions. I am at Uncle Freedom 213 on Instagram, or Uncle Freedom 213 at outlook.com. So till next time, guys, I'll see you later. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. See you soon.